What's going on to the people on YouTube and the people on the GamesDoneQuick submissions committee? This is video number 3 of my submissions for Ratchet Deadlocked. So I've already done the videos for any percent as well as new game plus no LC, and now this is the final category I will be submitting, any percent no LC. So it doesn't say that on the splits or on the title or anything like that, but that's because the thing that separated the two any percent categories was only found like a couple months ago. But if you want more info on that, you can watch the video for the any percent submission. So this category has never been seen at a GamesDoneQuick event before, at least at a mainline one or a hotfix. I believe it was shown in a relay race though, but there are still a few things that have changed. So I'm excited to show this off, hopefully, if it gets accepted. So first, we're starting off by being in third person mode, but then we swap to lock strafe, and this will allow us to skip a camera control tutorial, which saves about 20 or so seconds. And then we destroy those hollow targets that you saw using the dual vipers. Now in this room of enemies, we start off with some super small ones like these blade balls and these swarmers, but then some bigger ones like these dread zone strikers and these tremors will spawn, and that's when I swap to the magma cannon to take them out easily. And that's the tutorial done. Ratchet and Clank games usually have a much longer level for a tutorial. Deadlocked's tutorial is just 2 rooms. Just get you straight into the action. So in this hub world, if you jump off, the game will just respawn you in the center of the area, and we use this to make it a little easier to walk through. Saves a couple seconds. You might also see me trying to jump on some of these little, they kind of look like spikes, but they don't hurt Ratchet at all. I jump on them just as a kind of little fun small time save, and yeah, I get it there. That's pretty cool. So first is the Dread Zone station with the first mission, Advanced Qualifier. So I'm gonna skip the first fight here by doing a trick called Hyperstack, and I'll explain the Hyperstack in a moment, but there's actually something else that will result from the fact that I skipped this first fight. So the bots have a mechanic where if they take a lot of damage, they will be knocked out, and you have to revive them by pressing down on the D-pad. By skipping the first fight, we also skip this cutscene where the mechanic is displayed. And what this will allow us to do is, if I get to the electric liquid on this half of the floor and I jump inside, I will be teleported to the very end of the mission, which saves a lot of time. So it's a very interesting skip. I'm not exactly sure what causes it, I just know how to make it happen. So now I'm going to do this challenge called the Big Sleep. So apart from having to complete the main missions, there's also these challenges called Dread Challenges. Now you don't have to complete every single Dread Challenge to beat the game, but you do have to complete a few of them in order to gain Dread points. So the routing is based off of what challenges take the most amount of time to do and which ones will give you the amount of Dread points that you need. So in this mission, Ratchet is slowly losing health as the clock ticks by. It's not really a big deal though, because we're playing on couch potatoes, so the game's going to be very nice to us with ammo and health and whatnot. There are 3 dropships that spawn every 2 or so rounds. That number might be a little bit inaccurate. And then once the 3 dropships have been destroyed, I just know that all I have to focus on are these Dread Zone strikers as well as these swarmers. So in a moment, I'm going to get my first weapon upgrade. So you start off with 2 weapons, the dual vipers, which are some little dual machine guns that you're witnessing me use, and the magma cannon, which is a shotgun. So the dual vipers are good, but we don't use them that much because they take too long to defeat enemies. The magma cannon covers a lot more, and it's a lot more beneficial for us. So right here, we finished the Dread Zone station. We're now going to go on to the second level, Catacrom 4. So Catacrom 4 has also got a couple of strats, and the Dread Challenge is an interesting one in my opinion. I like it. So we're going to start off with this giant ravine. Now you may have seen that I tried swapping, instead of finishing the Big Sleep with the magma cannon, I did it with the dual vipers, and the reason was because I wanted to time the weapon upgrade animation to happen at the same time as the challenge ends, so I could skip the animation because it loses like 5 seconds if you let it play out. But unfortunately, I didn't manage to pull that off the way I wanted to. But it's not a big deal. In a category this long, 5 seconds is not going to hurt that much. I swapped to the dual Vipers here because otherwise I have to like press the quick select button a couple times to pull them out here. So we have to turn 3 bolt cranks in order to open a bridge that's to our right and traverse to the second half of the level. But by doing some hyperstacks, which are this technique where you go into the camera controls, you do a hyper strike, and the camera control menu will cancel the hyper strike, but you'll still manage to keep the height and the distance, so you can just do these infinitely. It's basically the infinite jump of this game. Right here I'm trying to destroy some jackpot crates, which will give us a lot of bolts. Like right there you just saw I got like 1,000 bolts. I hit the end of level trigger from a spot that I'm not supposed to. It saves about a second or so. And now here we have our first vehicle mission. So this is the Landstalker. It's this really cool looking tank. It's got these 6 mortars on the sides of it that you can see are being charged up. I'm trying to destroy some enemies just to get a couple of bolts. It's not a lot, but it does help. And the mortars are powerful enough to destroy these red orbs, which are needed to progress. Otherwise, well, they're just blocked off from letting me access them. So, again, I'm trying to destroy some enemies. I did stall a little bit here because at the time of this PB, I had been struggling a bit with my bolt route, so I just wanted to be a little safer for the next run. So now this is Rise Up. So implied by the name, you've been seeing this entire time, there are these robot zombies that spawn from the ground. Robot zombies being a very funny concept. It gets even better at the end of the game when you get to the ghost station. But that's besides the point. So there's a lot of robot zombies. I have to kill them with the magma cannon. If I can, it is preferable to shoot multiple zombies at once, which you did kind of see me go for just now. But it's faster to just kill the zombies as you see them as opposed to grouping them up. So focus first on destroying them, but if you can get them grouped up and shoot them, that is preferable. Here I'm trying to destroy the dropship before any Dread Zone bots come out of it. And then rounds 4 and 5 are just more robot zombies. So this is a good way to gain some XP for the magma cannon. In Ratchet and Clank games, if you use a weapon a lot, it will upgrade to a more powerful version of itself. Starting with Up Your Arsenal, they can also upgrade multiple times before being maxed out. In this game, you can level them up to V10 on a fresh file, but in challenge mode, you can go to V99, which is really awesome and kind of funny. So this is Monuments of Death. So there are these 3 monuments, and I want the boss to destroy them by placing bombs. I need to be within a certain distance, or else the game will not process that I have placed the bombs and destroyed them. But it's very lenient with how far away you can be before it decides like, okay, you've placed the bombs, but we're not going to let you have the objective. Right here, I do a very precise hyper strike to climb up that ledge. It skips going all the way around this tunnel, and is indeed a massive time save. A lot of runners use hyperstacks to do it, but I always go for it hyperstackless because I just like to play that way. And now here, I take the chance to just destroy as many robot zombies as I can. So unfortunately, I did not get the weapon upgrade, so that would end up being a time loss for later on. But again, it's not a big deal. Now this is Sarathos. So not every weapon is available from the start. You obviously have to go through the game, and as you progress, the game will be like, okay, here's a new weapon that you can now purchase. So on this planet, we unlock the Hunter Mine Launcher, which is extremely useful. Costs 35,000 bolts, and as you can see, I am left with just 86 bolts. That's how tight the bolt route is. So destroying those extra enemies on Catacrom was very beneficial. So right here, I use 3 mines to destroy the Leviathans here, which are these cool looking aliens. And then in order to conserve my ammo, I swap to the magma cannon. And here I get the magma cannon V3. In this area, there's a few Leviathans that will attack the bots as they are hacking these orbs, but I try and destroy them so that I never have to worry about them in the first place. You can see that one started firing a laser. And now at the end, I have 4 mines. I decide to save them for this dropship that's going to spawn. So at first, you don't really have a lot of mine ammo, and the mine is not that powerful to the point you can just throw out your mines as you please. You do have to be very careful with them. But later on, you get a lot more leeway. So here, something I didn't know at the time is that getting the Leviathan here to target me is a lot more consistent if you restart the mission. But in this case, I didn't have to, which was a quick little 2-second time save. So what you just saw there was called an air swing. So by walking or using the charge boots, which you get later on, into something that damages Ratchet, you're able to glide across the air by just swinging the wrench a bunch. So this is one of the only times where you see me do it by walking into the thing that damages Ratchet as opposed to charging. Now this mission has a PS3 exclusive strat. This cannot be done on the PS2 version of the game. I'm going to position the car, the Puma, right here into this little corner, and I'm going to get out while holding left, and that just clips Ratchet through the door, and it allows me to bypass having to turn 3 bolt cranks around this giant area. The bolt cranks are all so far from each other too, so you can imagine that it is a massive time save. Now this mission is somewhat of an auto-scroller, so there's a lot of Leviathans that spawn from different places, and I use this chance to upgrade the mine launcher as much as I possibly can. One thing that is a little helpful is that you don't have to have actually deployed the mine for it to damage enemies. As you can see, I'm walking into the enemies and they're still taking damage, so I'm using that to my advantage. Later on, the Leviathans start spawning in bigger groups. Like you saw there was like 3 or so Leviathans, and there was a lot of ammo, so I actually do get to just shoot as many mines as I want without a care in the world. So right here, I'm very close to spawning the King Leviathan, who's the most, well, as implied, he's the most powerful Leviathan of them all. Now, a time save that I didn't do in this PB, because I didn't know of it yet, I didn't think of it, is to use the Ravager, which is a super powerful weapon the bots have, but you need to have destroyed a lot of enemies to charge it up. So it's up on the D-pad, as you can see right there, it's flashing. I have started implementing it into some attempts I've been doing recently, and it does help a lot. So with the Ravager, you do want to be a little careful to not just spam it over and over, because you might need it for a later area. But it is still important to be able to use it whenever you are up against a tougher enemy like the King Leviathan. So now this is Swamp Fever. This is a dread challenge that we'll be doing where we use the Landstalker to destroy these Leviathans. Now unfortunately, according to a runner named Dan, the Leviathans are a lot more powerful in terms of how much damage they can take. So using the mines here would not be beneficial for the XP route, unfortunately. We do have to destroy them fair and square, even though the game allows you to exit the Landstalker. In some missions, you are not allowed to exit the vehicle, no matter what you do. But in others, the game just freely lets you do it. So right here, I want to destroy 23 Leviathans. They're all thankfully in my way, so it's not like I'm going out of my way or anything. Mastering the Landstalker movement here is important. Using L2 and R2, you can make it sidestep as opposed to the slow walking that it has. A lot of people are not fans of the Landstalker because of the slow movement, but thankfully speedrunners have found a way to make the most out of its movement and still make it an engaging mechanic to play with. So with that, Sarathos is done. It takes a little bit for these death animations to end and register, so. Now on to Chronos. So, as I said before, weapon leveling can go up to V10, and this planet is really beneficial for that. So first, we're going to buy the Shock mod, and I'm going to equip it onto all of my existing weapons. What the Shock mod does is, if you hit an enemy with a weapon, surrounding enemies will take damage, and in the case of smaller ones, they can even be destroyed. So I kind of know where all the enemies will be. I know how many mines to play so that I can get the best outcome. And there are also some dropships that are going to spawn in. And I know where these dropships will spawn in, so I can just throw a bunch of mines so that even when I'm ahead of where the dropship spawns would occur, I can still have them destroyed. You're kind of doing 2 things at once on this planet no matter what. Like right there, you just saw me deploy some mines. I also have to deploy a few more for these green enemies known as Tremors. Now right here I have 6 ammo, which is very good because I have this Executioner right here, which is a really powerful enemy, and I want to destroy it with the mines. But I also have a few enemies that come from the sides of the arena that I need to destroy. So I have mines already prepared because I know where they'll be, and the Shock mod makes it easy. So it's not really like you have to memorize enemy spawns to a T. You can just kind of get a general idea where they are. And now one thing that I really want with this final room, this is a moment for the bots to hack these orbs. I want to destroy as many enemies as possible. I'm just going around the arena. I'm looking at the mini map on the bottom right, just seeing like, okay, where are the enemies? Get as many of them as possible. And I also have to know where the ammo crates are so that if I run out, I can just instantly get them. So now, this is the first out of 5 boss battles, Shell Shock. So, we encounter Shell Shock 3 times on this planet, and he's pretty easy to defeat. Right here, I'm going to empty the entire ammo capacity of the Hunter Mine Launcher, and that is just enough to knock him out for now. I'm going to place some mines in some specific areas while also going near some ammo crates so that I can get ammo and I'll never run out when I need it the most. I already have mines in certain areas, so when these enemies spawn in, the mines will instantly spawn kill them. So right here, with the mines, every Ratchet & Clank game has a weapon where you deploy a projectile and it has its own unique hitbox. This game has the Hunter Mine Launcher. The thing is though, the hitbox is a lot bigger when the mines are V10, and that is part of the reason we want to get them to V10 ASAP so we can have easier mine clips. But you are still able to mine clip with them from V1 to V9. Now in that run that you saw, I fumbled it a little bit, but since then I have gotten a lot better at the mine clips. This one is a lot easier. Now this area, I'm not supposed to access it in this mission, but it is the area that you saw in the first mission, and it's never deloaded. And it allows me to skip going around the city using the grind rail, which saves several minutes, so it's a very valuable strat to have. This next mission is also great for XP. There are a few skips that we are able to use on this planet, but the reason why we don't do them is in order to make usage of the abundance of enemies that we have. Right here you can see me filling up my ammo because there's just so many enemies to destroy. Now, my mines are a little more powerful, so I can use one less mine than I usually have been using to destroy the dropships that will spawn. So I fire a ton of mines to get rid of those swarmers as well as the dropships. Get rid of this executioner, another dropship is going to spawn soon. And as I said before, I know where all the enemies spawn. If you want to become a really good runner of this game and you want to get really fast times in this category, you have to learn the enemy spawns, or at the very least learn the enemy patterns. So this is kind of a slow-paced planet, but I don't mind it that much because it at least helps us with our XP route. Now here is the first usage of the Ravager in this run. As I said before, you could use it on King Leviathan, and I have been implementing that into attempts recently, but the Ravager is super powerful. You saw it wipe those 2 executioners like it was nothing. Now right here my ammo is pretty bad, so it's kind of hard to take advantage of all the enemies spawning. One thing that's unique in this game though is that enemies drop ammo sometimes, so I decided to destroy them with the magma cannon, and I prayed to get some good RNG on my ammo drop. Unfortunately that didn't happen, but it wasn't a big deal. I know I'll be able to get to V10 by the time I need it. So Shell Shock returns, and now I'm going to once again do what I did before. Empty the entirety of the ammo capacity of the Hunter Mine Launcher, and then I just place mines all around me so that way when the enemies spawn in, I'm ready to go. And I make sure to get some extra ammo just in case I need it. Now here is Fight to the Cathedral. We're supposed to traverse some grind rails once again, but we're going to skip it all thanks to the help of the air swing. So right here I walk into the turret, I take 2 hits, and boom. There is a swing shot target near me. You saw me take it in one of the previous missions. If I go near that target, it will basically cancel the air swing because Ratchet will automatically equip the swing shot, and the square button will do nothing. The game prioritizes the swing shot, so I have to make sure to avoid that. I really like that air swing. I think it's cool. Now here are some of the hardest mine clips in the game for most runners, but I've got them down pretty good. That's a really precise mine clip right there. There's so little space to place the mine. It's not pixel perfect obviously, but it's still tough. Now right here I am waiting for my bot to respawn, and in that time period I'm going around and I'm destroying some ammo crates. There is a limit to how many mines can be on the screen at once. I believe it is 7 mines. So I have to make sure not to fire too many, or else I'll start getting rid of previous mines to make room for the new ones. Now, Shell Shock did an attack that destroyed all of those ammo crates, which was really beneficial to me. So I was able to just go back. The ammo attracts itself to Ratchet, and there we go. So this is inverted action. So that arena we were just in, this is where Shell Shock is waiting, like the whole time. This is not an area that you normally see in casual gameplay. I think it's cool that they use this area for a Dread challenge. It's kind of like a little exclusive thing. I do wish more planets in the game had done something like that. So these enemies are spawning from all 4 tubes, and these walls are also going to try and crush Ratchet, but I can delay their movement by having the bots hack the orbs. Now, it's not like the walls do have a limit on how far they can go, so technically if you just wait in the middle, they never crush you, but if you want the space, you still should hack the orbs. So I want the mines close to V7, maybe even past that by the time I'm done with this. I'm actually kind of bad on XP right now, so this is a good time save for upcoming runs. I'm about to get halfway through V6, so it's not the worst possible outcome, but it is still not preferable. And I think I ran out of ammo there or something. I don't know why I used the wrench on that tremor. So with the destruction of these bosses, as well as the completion of certain planets, we do earn some gadgets. And one of the gadgets that we earn is the charge boots, which you're going to see right about now. So first, before starting this next tournament, we're going to buy a wrench upgrade, which is going to be useful on a Dread challenge. These charge boots are really simple to use. Double tap L2 and you propel yourself forward, but they are very broken, and you're going to see that very quickly. So right here is Manic Speed Demon. So once again, the shock mod is allowing these enemies to be destroyed in groups. I know where all the enemies are going to spawn. There's a couple dropships coming out, and I'm always trying to get as much ammo as I can because you lose ammo faster than you gain it, really. So this would be a good time to read 1 or 2 donations. Probably just 1, because the mission's about to end right about now. So this next mission is a series of like arenas where you have to fight a few enemies, but we skip it all with an air swing. And this might be the first time that you see me do it with the charge boots. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, so what I wanted from these tremors, there are 2 attack patterns they can do. There's a ranged one where they have that gray stuff come out that you saw that third tremor do, but there's also a melee attack they do. And you can air swing no matter which one they do, but we prefer the ranged attack since it takes less hits. The more hits you take, the longer your air swing will last. So I unfortunately was not able to adapt correctly in that moment, and that third tremor, he did give me a good attack, but by then I was already committed to the setup for the melee attack. But it's not a big deal. I was still able to get the PB that I really wanted in this run. Now here we have to climb this giant tower. In order to do that, we're going to charge into the laser beam of these turrets, and I'm going to use a slope to gain height as I'm doing my air swing. So turn this way. It's really easy to just kind of slip off of this slope or get caught under that spike, and it completely breaks your flow, and it's like, okay, I have to move a specific way or else I'm completely screwed. During the animation cycle, you see Ratchet kind of swings his wrench to the left, then to the right, then he kind of does a little spin. If you turn in between the spin and the left side attack, if you hold a direction other than neutral on the analog stick, Ratchet instantly drops the air swing. No momentum is kept. So I have to be really careful with when I move. I have to like I have very little time to think before I can start moving. So this Dread challenge, this is the faster of the 2 Dread challenges we're offered, or at least the better one. This is close and personal, where the gimmick is that we can only fight enemies using the wrench. This is why we purchased the wrench upgrade, so that it's a little bit easier to defeat these enemies. Now there are some dropships that spawn in. By the time of this run, I wasn't fully familiar with their spawns yet, and even now I do still struggle a little bit. I get them mixed up. But it's not the biggest deal because there are still like other ways to save time, and there are still ways to adapt to the situation you are given. And if you are quick enough, you can destroy the dropships before those Dread Zone bots come out. Each version of, like, you won't see the red Dread Zone bots anymore, the ones that are known as Dread Zone Strikers, but you will see similar enemies. They all have like different names. I believe there's Dread Zone Stingers, Dread Zone I actually don't remember the names of any of them. Yeah, I just remember Dread Zone Stingers. So this is the final dropship, and round 9 will happen soon. I really like this mission. I think it's fun. Throwing the wrench is a lot easier in this game compared to other Ratchet and Clank games. You do stop for a little bit, but it's not for long, so it's not like it's gonna mess with your gameplay. And of course, throwing the wrench is a good mechanic, especially for those blue swarmers, because they're a little more powerful. They take like 2 hits. So throwing the wrench and making sure that the swarmer is hit during the entirety of that wrench toss is important. Now onto Shar. So this planet is very difficult, but it's also where we unlock one of the best weapons in the game, the Leviathan Flail, or V1, it's called the Scorpion Flail. So I'm able to trigger the end of the level by landing in this water here. The trigger extends just enough for that to happen. In New Game Plus speedruns of this game, this mission is notoriously difficult, but it's actually a tiny bit easier in this category. Now the thing that makes this mission so difficult is this node right here. I have to command the bots to turn 4 bolt cranks. This one is guarded by 3 landstalkers, as well as a few turrets, and some more Dread Zone bots, some executioners, some dropships. But because we want XP, it is a good play to destroy the enemies, so it does allow you to make it easier for the bot to not be knocked out. And you can use the EMP to knock out these landstalkers for a short period of time. So yeah, you can see, like, they really just cranked the difficulty to max with this one. Even on the easiest difficulty, I am still, like, I had to go get a health crate because I was concerned that I would run out of health. So thankfully the 3rd and 4th node are nowhere near as painful as the 2nd one. You just destroy the enemies and you're going to be okay. There are these enemies called laserbacks. They're a little bit annoying. In this mission, not that much, but in one of the dread challenges, they are very much annoying, and you'll see that dread challenge soon enough. So this mission is another turning the bolt cranks mission. I destroyed these 2 bots to make sure that my bots don't get stuck on them when moving. And I do some fun little movement here. I like this movement. It's very simple, but sometimes you just want simpler things in life, you know? I'm once again destroying these turrets using the Hunter Mine Launcher, making sure that the bot is in the right spot. And I have to be... One thing that I have a tendency to do is I accidentally forget to command the bot to capture the node there. So right there, I was making sure, like, okay, I have confirmed that on the bottom left, it says that they've captured a node. So capturing the final one. And that is the main campaign of Shar complete. I have some mines there in case some enemies come near me, so that way they'll instantly be wiped out. This is the only instance you're going to see in this run where we do a dread challenge twice. So this is Assault on the Frozen Tundra, and the gimmick with this is you once again turn full 4 bolt cranks, but now you don't have access to the weapons whenever you want. They're scattered around the arena, and you have to physically grab them if you want to be able to use them. You can only use 1 weapon at a time. So there is a tiny bit of RNG, but it's not really RNG that's going to break your run. It's not a big deal. It's more so a time save than it is a time loss. Now, of course, I ran out of ammo there, and there was that laserback. You saw it knock out one of my bots. The laserbacks are really annoying in this challenge because, again, we just don't have a lot of weapons, and there are 3 laserbacks while there are also a bunch of executioners. So that final node is quite difficult to do. There is a strat that I've thought of that I want to experiment with to see if that might make it a little bit easier, which would be to go away from the node. Maybe that despawns the enemies or causes them to not focus on defeating the bots. But at the time of this run, I hadn't thought of that. So who really knows? Hopefully we get the better results. Finger crossed. Hopefully that is a viable strat. And that would be a good time to read a donation as well, by the way. So, and now with that, I've gone from plus 27 to minus 4. So yeah, with paces like this, I don't really mind like being behind by this amount of time because like I always know I can save more time later. It's a category that's an hour and over an hour and 10 minutes long. I can afford to lose some time. So here I have to pick between two paths. But what I do is I command the bots to hack both doors and I clip through in order to register it as complete. Otherwise, one of the doors would no longer be able to be opened and I'd have to hyperstack around to unlock it from the other side. Right there, I forgot to buy ammo. Not a big deal. So this is node overload. So each node is surrounded by a couple of these turrets, and I'm making sure to destroy them so that way my bots won't be knocked out. There's a giant landstalker here. I get rid of that. Thankfully, unlike most landstalkers, I do not need to use the bot's EMP to take it out. A lot of them have shields on them and that otherwise makes them indestructible, but using the EMP from the bots takes them out. But every now and then, some turrets or landstalkers will not have the shield, which very grateful for when that happens. So right now we're almost to V8. We are at V8. So I want V10 by the time I'm on planet Torval. So I'm halfway through. I'm a little under halfway through Orxon. Then I have Crusader, Valix, and then I'll have Torval. So I got plenty of time to reach V10. So the XP route though is pretty tight, but the game gives you a lot of enemies to kind of make up for it, so it's not the biggest deal. A holy grail strat would be to the mission that V10 is required for, to see like experiment with using under-leveled mines on it, seeing how difficult it could be. That would be a holy grail because it would unlock so many possibilities in the early game for skips, and it would eliminate a lot of like the it would eliminate a lot of the issues with like XP routing. You could just skip ahead some of these levels, some of these combat sections. You wouldn't have to worry about them as much. You just go to the end. So that was an auto scroller just now. That's why I didn't really talk about it that much. This is Chains of Villainy. I have to destroy these 4 orbs that have these like, they kind of look like hot air balloons. So that's what I'll call them. These 4 orbs. The Landstalker's mortars are the most powerful thing that we have available to destroy them. So a little funny thing is in New Game Plus speedruns, the stars that are used to denote these are objectives you have to destroy, the very first star never goes away, only for the other 3. Thankfully that's not an issue in this category though, so I never have to like second guess myself. I know that I've destroyed the hot air balloon because the game told me so. The Dread Challenge that you saw us do on Char, we're going to do something similar here on Orxon, where we only have access to certain weapons. Instead of turning bolt cranks, we have to go through, we have to unlock these doors through the process of defeating the enemies in a given area. So right here I start off with only the dual Vipers. You always get the dual Vipers no matter what. Then here you get the magma cannon available to you, and we obviously take it instantly because it's much more powerful. Now the game can lag a lot here, so it's kind of important to look down. Looking down just reduces the lag while still getting us the results that we want. The PS3 ports of the Ratchet & Clank original quadrilogy have a few extra spots where the game can lag that were not like this on the PS2 versions. So even though they are faster because of loads, there are some disadvantages like this one. And now I'm about to finish Orxon. Onto the Crusader tournament. Right there you're seeing that I had to skip a split in my PB. I'll explain that later. So here I use the challenges menu to access the tournament as opposed to going in that Battle Dome shuttle. This is only done on the Crusader and Liberator tournaments, because if you do it on the Avenger or Vindicator tournaments, it'll kick you back out to the hub world after the first challenge, which is really strange. So this is Static Death Trap. I'm using the Hunter Mine Launcher. It is the only weapon the game allows us to use alongside the wrench. And right here, the mines are really weak compared to what I would like to make this mission easier. So it's a lot tougher compared to the NG Plus speedrun. The mines just aren't as powerful as they are in that category. I'm not going to be referring to the entry plus category that much more. That's just more so to kind of describe how different this category is to that. So right here on round 3, there were some turrets that spawned all around the arena. And after round 3, I knew that the positions of the enemies would change. So there were 2 sides of the arena that the enemies initially spawned from, but after round 3, now they spawn from a different side of the arena. On round 5, I'm hoping to have a lot of mine ammo. It does refill automatically, but it's very slow. So thankfully I managed to defeat all of that wave quickly. So not a big deal. So right here, I'm trying to get over this like little plane where it'll re-warp you if you touch it. It doesn't extend all the way because the player does need to be able to get through. So I'm able to do a charge into a hyperstack to get over that little warp plane. Here I tell my bot to capture this node. And here I actually wait for a little bit just to make sure that a specific group of enemies can spawn. And I know that I can defeat them. So I have some mines ready for them once they get close to my bots. And I capture this final node. I make sure not to get on this platform because it'll otherwise set my spawn there. Oh, I guess I do get on the platform. In this case, it didn't matter, but I usually want it in case the bots may take a longer time to turn to bulk cranks. Maybe I forgot like an enemy or something and they're stuck. So right here is Reactor. He's pretty cool, but he's also a really tough boss battle. And the way I defeat him is by spamming the Hyper Strike, but with the Leviathan Flail. And this covers like 2 times the area that a single flail swing would do. So that is the Crusader tournament, but we're not done. Now we're doing this challenge called Heavy Metal. So funny enough, I'm playing in Spanish. That's just what my PS3 is set to, but even though we're in Spanish, it still has a name in English. It's kind of funny. And now right here, I swap to the Freeze mod. The Freeze mod is actually a little bit faster than the Shock mod because enemy death animations don't play. They always just kind of have this animation that looks like some ice breaking. So I swapped to that mod. I purchased it back on Orxon, but I only swapped to it just now. So this is quite a long and tedious mission. This would be a good time to read some donations. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because there's not much to talk about in this arena. And it's around here also that I get close to the V10 mines. Ideally this would be where I get them, but my XP was a little sketchy. So now onto the Valix belt. So this is a really great level. It's got a lot of cool movement, and we play all of the Dread challenge. Well, there's only 2 of them, so yeah. We play both of the Dread challenges. So first, I do an air swing off of this dropship. So right here, unfortunately, I was too far away, which caused it to prioritize hitting the bot over me. Now there, I did get close enough. And the reason why I didn't just instantly get so close to it is because if your charge gets interrupted too early, you won't have a good air swing. You won't be able to make it to the end. So it creates a dynamic where you want to get close to the dropship so that it won't target the bots, but you also want to make sure you're just enough of a distance away that you can get a little bit of spacing for a charge. So yeah, it's a little interesting kind of a way to balance out the strat here. So this is a hover ship mission. There are 12 groups of enemies and we have to destroy them. The enemies get bounced really far away with the hover ship, which can make this mission a little bit tricky to do because sometimes you'll just get enemies that are knocked into the void, or sometimes you'll get enemies that are like knocked into an area you don't even notice they're there, and then you go on to the next group and you're like, oh wait, I forgot to get this enemy, so I have to go back for it. So thankfully I've played this mission enough times that I can still play it safe while not losing time compared to somebody that might play it riskier. So, and I also thankfully have the counter on the bottom right to know when the entire group of enemies has been wiped. Without it, I'd just be kind of guessing, which wouldn't be very nice. So some techniques that you are going to see me use with the charge boots includes the flail cancel, where I press R1 to swing the flail and R2 at the exact same time. R2 is the button used for quick select, and that's how I swap my weapons. You can also use triangle, but I prefer R2. If I press those at the same time while I'm doing a charge, it will interrupt the flail animation, but I'll still keep my speed from the charge boots, and it's a very useful trick. And I do a similar thing, but with the triangle button, specifically the triangle button, where if I let go of it, like if I activate it and then I let go of it as the charge ends. By the way, some more hunter mine clips, not stalker mine clips. If I let go of the quick select button as the charge ends, it allows for a similar effect as the flail cancel, which is pretty cool. So right here, I ran out of ammo, which wasn't very good, but I saw the ammo pickup and I thought, okay, I have 3 chances to get this clip, and I already lost one of them because one of them hit the enemy, but I was confident that I would be able to get the clip first try, and it paid off. Now here is a very interesting air swing. So I'm going to try and destroy this dropship, and that's going to cause some enemies to spawn. And now right here, I charge into the shot of that enemy's weapon, and I need to be hit about 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So unfortunately, those the cyclones, which are those enemies in the air, it was a bit tough for them to hit me from that distance. On higher difficulties, the laser of those cyclones, or cycloids, I forget the exact name for them, they actually reach a further distance. So if I was playing on a higher difficulty, it'd be easier to pull off this strat. But then that makes it so that every other combat encounter of the game is a lot more difficult and a lot slower. So we have to go with the hardest variation for the sake of time save. So right there, I almost have V10. Like, I just need one more enemy kill. And now this is the first of both dread challenges. In my PB, I actually forgot to do one of these dread challenges, so I had to go back for it, which was why I had to skip the split right here. So in this dread challenge, you're going around the entirety of the asteroid ring trying to get these red rings. And you can only have 2 spawned at a time. On this difficulty, I don't think on 2-star or anything above that, you're actually able to skip these red rings. You're actually able to skip some of them. So that red ring that's not glowing, I can touch it and it will still make the game function like intended. But on higher difficulties, I am not allowed to do that. So there is that advantage too, corner cutting. This isn't a very difficult mission to optimize. You just got to learn which are the get rid of this. You just got to learn which are the best rings to corner cut, and you'll be fine. So the other dread challenge is a bit of a tricky one because of the way the bot spawns work. So I might have mentioned earlier a 10-second respawn timer for the bots. I don't remember if I did, but just as a quick recap in case you may have forgotten, every 10 seconds the bots will respawn if you're too far away from them. But in this first room, we are never considered to be far enough away for them to have to respawn near us. At least not unless we get like close to that wall and face away. But I believe at the time of this run, I was not aware of that. So I finally got V10 mines. That's cool. Makes the mine clips a little easier. I need the bots to turn 3 bulk rings, which is why I can't just clip through the walls and get to the end. Because there is no end. There's just complete objectives. So here, I destroy all these enemies. I now start focusing on XP for the flail. We do not need the V10 flail, but the higher leveled it is, the more damage it does, which is obviously beneficial to us. So now whenever you get the chance, focus on the flail as opposed to the mines. So I get a 604. Not too bad. Now onto Planet Torble. Funny thing is, this is the only this is the only level where the loading screen says the word planet on it. You don't see like Planet Sarathos, Planet Kronos. I don't know why they chose it just for this one. So right here, I have to destroy these Landstalker turrets, which will expose some orbs that the bots can hack. And I need to make sure I'm within a certain distance when they do that, or else the game will not register that they've actually completed the objective. So I usually try not to just instantly charge away from them. I want to make sure that they have indeed completed the objective. I destroyed this laserback right here. And now on to Seek and Destroy. This is why the V10 mines are so important. So first, I restart the mission so I can destroy this first drone. I have to chase 12 of them on a hover bike, but you are able to get out of the bike and use standard weapons. Now right here, I'm going to go to this particular spot, and that's going to cause a bunch more drones to spawn, and they'll instantly go into the mines, which will destroy them. Now right here, unfortunately, the mines did not destroy the final 3 drones, so I lost a bit of time. But what I can do is I can just chase them around on the hover bike. If you are a certain distance away from the mines, they kind of despawn and don't do anything, so that's why those 3 drones were not destroyed. I tried to manipulate the way they turn, because if you get close to them, they'll start turning the other way. So it was a bit of a kind of I tried taking a little risk, and unfortunately didn't pay off. This challenge, I just have to go around the area and turn 3 bolt cranks. I'm going to try and do a little proxy, which is basically a PlayStation term for a super jump, I guess. I don't know. A high jump. I unfortunately didn't get it, but I can do some hyperstacks to get to this 3rd node, so it's not a big deal. So this next mission is a pretty basic one. I just have to place 4 bombs on this statue of Ace Hardlight, one of the game's bosses, and then I have to wait out a little timer for the statue to be destroyed. So this would be a good time to read a couple of donations. I say we could fit 1 or 2 in here, maybe even 3, honestly. I think we could fit 3. Right here I get V3 flail. So one funny thing that you're going to see in like a moment. So they've placed the bombs, and now I have like a 14-second timer. You are able to just kind of go AFK in specific spots, but I decided to take advantage of the few seconds that I have to kill some enemies to get more XP. I used an EMP there so I could destroy that turret. I should also mention, this is the only level in the game that has dread challenges, but we don't do any of them. The other times we don't do dread challenges is simply because there are none to do. So now on to the Vindicator tournament. So this one has some really cool dread challenges, but the main challenges, the first one is kind of difficult to do optimally, and you'll see why in a moment. The second one is just kind of an auto-scroller. So this first dread challenge, or not dread challenge, this first main challenge is a cycling weapons round, but I always know what weapon I'm going to get. So even though I haven't purchased this weapon, the fusion rifle, the game will allow me to use it temporarily and even equip mods onto it, which is what I do with the shock mod. Then I get the scorpion flail. And after this, I know I'm going to get the stalker mine launcher. I'm going to try and place the stalker mines around specific parts of the area, because for the final round, some executioners will spawn, and I have to fight them with the dual vipers, which is not a very fun combo. I'm sure whoever at Insomniac was programming this challenge had a fun little laugh, but it does make it kind of difficult for us to play it optimally. So unfortunately, too many of my mines were used in the destruction of other enemies, so I wasn't able to make the most out of it. So one thing I kind of realized right here is I still had a few mines out, it just wouldn't have been a lot. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm trying to stay away from the executioners. If I'm a certain distance away but they're still trying to attack me, they will run towards Ratchet. So I'm going to use this to my advantage to make them run into the mines that I have placed around the arena. And it does kill them quicker. So yeah, the dual vipers are V1, and you can just see like we should have them at like V7 by now. Just based off of that. So this is basically a 2-minute and 16-second auto-scroller. The entire time bombs are being dropped on us and we have to avoid them while fighting enemies. There isn't really much to talk about with this mission. There is a way to go AFK, but we shouldn't really do that because we want to take the chance to level up the Leviathan, the Scorpion Flail. So I'm going to skip ahead to the end of this mission since there's not much to talk about. This would be another good time for donations though. Alright, and now onto the Eviscerator. The Eviscerator is the coolest exterminator in my opinion. So after he takes a certain amount of damage, he will put up a shield, and none of my weapons will be able to destroy it. I'll have to destroy some enemies first. So what I can do, however, is if I fall in this electric liquid over and over, he will never put up his shield. And in fact, I actually have him positioned in a certain way that I use the flail on him, and it just knocks him right there, and he gets stuck. He can't do anything, and I'm just free to completely wipe him out as I please. It's a very funny looking strat, but it's also really sick. I love that strat so much. So now on to the first of two dread challenges, Higher Ground. This is basically a remix of Climb the Tower of Power. I'm once again going to do an air swing. Previously, this dread challenge would not have even been considered for this route. It was way too slow. Doing it without air swings is just, it takes too long. There's too many obstacles, and the strats are difficult to pull off. But this air swing obsoleted like all of that. And there's a category extension called All Missions, NG plus All Missions, that I kind of wanted world record in, but this challenge was making me think like I'm not going to be able to because I'm just not able to play it as fast as the record holder. But the air swing was what gave me the final bit of confidence that, yeah, I can do this. So, yeah, now I have world record in that, and I'm pretty happy with it. So right here is the corkscrew. I got on that little spike, which I'm guessing the devs didn't intend for you to get on, but they did put collision on there. What else would you have been able to do? And I used the hyperstacks to get up on top of these grind rails. A little fun fact, if you have already beaten this challenge in a play session, there is a chance you can soft lock. So if you do a run and you want to do another, quit to the XMB and then re-enter the challenge. So yeah, I really like both of these dread challenges. Most of the dread challenges that are on the Dread Zone station, as well as a few other planets, are focused more around like the arena combat, but these two allow you to really just explore a few of the movement options as well, and I really like that. So now on to Stygia and Meraxis. So Stygia is quite a difficult planet. The very first mission is notorious for killing runs and whatnot, but I know my way around this. So I'll quickly explain it, but first, remember to stay hydrated. So this is junking the jammers. We have to use the Landstalker. The game doesn't allow us to get out of it, and even then, Ratchet's weapons are not able to destroy the jammers. I believe someone was able to kind of use some cheat tool to get out of the Landstalker and discover that, yeah, nothing works. There are a lot of enemies here, and there's not a lot of time to really think about what you're doing. There's no chance to just sit around, or else you will be annihilated. But there's thankfully a lot of health crates, and the health crates give you a good portion of your health back. Like, look at that. Look at that. And that was like a third of the health. There, I used an EMP on that Landstalker turret so that it wouldn't, I wouldn't risk it annihilating me. And then I'm able to use splash damage from the Landstalker's mortars to destroy this final jammer, which is what I do here. Now here's Energy Collector. So I have to once again turn some bolt cranks. I move the camera here in order to make sure that the bot moves in the way I want it to. I skip using some of these swing shot targets, and now I'm going to do a flail cancel to get over to this platform. Otherwise, I would need to use one of the bot gadgets to get there. And the bots can't use the gadget because they're too busy turning bolt cranks. This is also one out of 3 levels in the game that has no dread challenges. One of those is the final level, so that makes sense. Another is a penultimate level, which lore-wise it does also make sense. This is the only one where like there's no dread challenges and it doesn't make sense. Like there's nothing like within the lore of the story or anything like that to stop that from being a thing. There were a few, I believe, but they were cut from the game. So now here I'm attempting to do a strat. The bots hack the orbs by going around this triangle, and they both kind of follow each other. But there is a way to command them in such a way that they'll go around opposite directions, and that saves like 20 or so seconds. Unfortunately, I did not hit it in this run. It is a bit of a difficult strat to do. You do need to practice it a lot. But I didn't let it bother me that much. I kept the pace going. So I thought, you know what, let's just make the most of it. Let's just destroy the enemies so that the bots can at least, you know. Right here, I'm actually going really far away from the bots, and this will cause the enemies to just not attack them at all. And even if the dropships were to fire, their missiles basically despawn before they can ever reach the bots. It's really funny. So now this final mission, I just go around the 3 sides of the triangle, and I spam the flail to destroy all of the enemies. So the flail is definitely one of the most powerful weapons in the game. This game has a really great selection of weapons. Pretty much none of them are duds. Oh, I didn't even realize this. I was actually rewatching this run recently just to kind of remember like some of the things that I would commentate on. I didn't notice that I missed an enemy there. Uh, it's a bit annoying, but you know, like I said, you got to just take it and go along with it. I knew I could still get the run that I wanted, and I did. And that is the end of Stygia. Now on to Meraxes. So Meraxes is a much easier level than this one was, and it has a lot cooler movement as well. So the first mission, in Ratchet and Clank games, they put the end of the level near the beginning, and speedrunners use that a lot. There are several planets that do this. Novalis and Ratchet 1, Quark's Hideout and Up Your Arsenal. I'm trying to remember what planets in Going Commando do it. I know Bolton does. Bolton, yeah. So I destroyed those 2 executioners. In order to get over that barrier, I use what's called the wrench SI. SI stands for slope intercept, and it refers to a technique used to climb sloped surfaces. A wrench SI is when you swing the wrench towards a sloped surface. But there's a few other types of SIs. In other Ratchet and Clank games, you can use Clank's packs, and in this one, there's one where you do like a flail cancel into a wrench swing, which looks really sick. So the gimmick with this planet is that my bots have been placed into prisons, and I'm supposed to free both of them. So I freed the first one on the... Well, I didn't actually free it, but as long as you complete the mission, the game gives it to you anyways. It's kind of funny to see. So I freed the first bot, and it's with me. So this bolt crate mission is a bit slower than if I had both bots. Right here, I clip into the wall as it's opening. It saves me like a second. And now here, I'm going to clip through 2 walls, and that'll be the entirety of this mission. It's a very... it's not that long of a mission, but it's got a lot to do, a lot of enemies to fight. There's a Landstalker turret that can be a bit tricky to get around. Now, unfortunately, I was quite slow with my movement here, so the bot was not functioning in the way I wanted it to. Ideally, if I had been a little bit quicker with the mine clips, the bot would have instantly spawned at the right spot and had the grind cable out. So right here, I'm supposed to stand on a button to free the second bot, which you can see is right there. But the end of level trigger is always active no matter what. So I can just clip through this door and voila. So similar to the Dread challenge on the Valix belt, where you fly through rings with the hover ship, there is a ring mission but with the Puma. Now, in order to prevent the player from cutting corners, the developers decided to place a lot of explosive crates, a lot of explosive barrels around the level. So corner cuts are possible, but you have to really consider when you want to do them, because if you do too many of them, you take a lot of damage and you may risk destroying the Puma. You are able to leave the Puma, but moving with the charge boots is slower. IL speedruns, by the way, I should mention IL speedruns because this is an awesome IL because it really takes advantage of the charge boot movement. In IL speedruns, it is faster to use charge boots with hyperstack movement, hyperstack style movement, because being in the pause menu prevents the in-game timer from running. So in RTA runs, it is faster to use the Puma, but in IL speedruns, it is faster to do charge boots. So it does allow for a wider variety of strats to be found. It's like if you find a strat, it might not be useful in one type of run, but it might be useful in another. Now onto the Liberator tournament. So this is a Swarmer surprise. In this one, it's once again a cycling weapons round, but now I only cycle between 2 weapons. So with the shock mod, I used that to wipe out the groups of enemies. I did say that the freeze mod is, because it cancels enemy death animations, it is faster. But in this case, it wouldn't have been able to cover as much ground. So it is a worthwhile decision to use the shock mod instead of the freeze mod for this challenge. One thing that I am doing is I'm trying to let the swarmers group up with each other before I fire at them. And now here I have the B6 Obliterator. I equip the shock mod onto it. And I have the Cyclones to destroy. Round 4, the enemies are going to spawn in a counterclockwise rotation. So I just need to memorize where the first set of enemies spawns, and then I'll be set for that round. So it's going to happen any moment now. There we go. So, group 1, group 2. As you can see, like, some of these enemies, because of the shock mod, even though I wasn't pointing the gun at them, they still were defeated. So it's a little bit funny to see, I'm going to admit that. It's quite funny. On this mission, I have to kill 135 enemies, so I just spammed the flail pretty much the whole time. A Ravager usage here would actually be quite useful. So that is a strat that I guess I will start implementing into runs. And if this makes it onto the GamesDoneQuick stage, you will see me do that, as well as implementing Ravager usage in a few other arena missions. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Now onto Ace Hardlight. So Ace Hardlight, I wipe him out with the mines. Ace Hardlight is somewhat of a difficult fight because he constantly puts up the shield, and by the time he's at the lowest percentage of his health possible, he always has the shield up, unless he does this, where there are a bunch of Ace Hardlight clones. Now, the real one has a shadow, the others don't, so something that I'm looking for is once he puts out all of those clones of himself, I'm looking for whichever Ace Hardlight has the shadow, and I start attacking it. Because if I wipe out the clones, then he will bring out the shield, and I don't want that. I want him to be vulnerable for as long as possible. So right here, I instantly spotted him, and I believe I defeated him, yes, before he could put up the shield again. So very nice little time save. So now this is Dynamite Baseball, and as Dallas, one of the announcers, would say, we're getting down to the end, folks. We are past the 1 hour mark. Well, we were actually past it on Merax's. Didn't even notice that. So this challenge is quite simple. Destroy everything as soon as it spawns. I'm not really focused on using the Scorpion Flail here, and there's a reason why. This challenge, every now and then, I've had it soft lock. An enemy can like just spawn in and just like go really high up in the air, and it won't even spawn on the mini-map, and from there, I cannot progress to the next wave. So yeah, I unfortunately do have to restart that. I once had a PB where that happened. That was really unfortunate. But thankfully, just destroy the enemies quickly and you'll never have to deal with that problem. So one way that I could optimize this run is by memorizing the enemy spawns so that I have the mines ready even quicker, which would also be beneficial because it would be less likely to cause a soft lock. This mission doesn't really end when all the enemies are defeated, just when like the game's decided you defeated enough enemies. You saw there were still some alive. So now this is less is more. And this challenge is also quite long. This lasts like a minute and a half. There are 8 rounds. So similar to the big sleep where your health progressively drains over time, the same thing happens here. However, you also lose ammo over time. You might notice that my ammo count's dropping a lot quicker than it should. Like, yes, I am firing a lot of mines, but some of these kind of just looks like they're instant. Like, I could not have fired that fast, and it is because of that mechanic. I'm really surprised the game does not lag that much on this mission. Like, I can't really notice any lag. I've never noticed any lag playing this mission. You'd think this one would make the game just, you know, chug horribly, but that doesn't happen for some reason. So now by here, I'm using the Scorpion Flail to destroy some more enemies. But by the end, a beneficial strat is to just go around in circles and just fire the mines. I don't remember if I do that in this run. I think I was more focused on just having the enemies spawns committed to memory so I wouldn't have to do that. But if you are a newer player, okay, yeah, I am doing it. If you are a newer player and you don't have the enemy spawns memorized yet, and you're thinking like, okay, I don't want to overwhelm myself by focusing on learning too many new things, so I'm going to find some ways to simplify certain arenas, you do have this. So this category is pretty great because apart from having good movement, you have like a lot of options in the combat missions. So there's a lot of variety with how 2 players can do a run of this category while still achieving great times. So now this is the Ghost Station. This has some of the best movement I've seen in a Ratchet & Clank speedrun. So first, we're going to be doing 2 hyperstacks here to reach the end of the level trigger from underneath. And then, this is running the gauntlet. So I'm going to be going to this wall that's only supposed to be eliminated once you have turned 5 bolt cranks around this area. But of course, you can just mind clip through. There's also a slightly riskier strat where you do a flail cancel and instantly hyper strike out of it. But I wanted to be safe in this run, so I thought I don't need to do that, so I'm not going to do it. There you saw an end lag cancel. I talked about these briefly on Valix. Here I just clipped through 2 walls. Oh, little bonk. I clipped through these 2 walls. Got a little frame drop there. Interesting. And I have to destroy 5 computers in this final room. And the weapon that's best suited for that is, of course, the dual Vipers. So now, onto escape. So the lore with this level is that it's meant to be a mathematically unbeatable gauntlet. But of course, we beat the odds. Quite easily, too. But in order to make sure that, like, this station cannot be used for any more horrible purposes, any more malicious purposes, we take it down completely. We have to destroy 33 of these green boxes known as power nodules. And then we have to destroy 9 Landstalker turrets. And that will bring the station down. Unfortunately, we don't see it in a cutscene, but it is very much implied that the ghost station is no longer a thing. I like the music on this a lot. I like the idea of just taking down the entire station. Really sticking it to the organizers of Dread Zone after all that they have done. This is also a very fun mission to optimize, in my opinion. This is my favorite vehicle level in the whole game. I'm sure a lot of people would not enjoy the vehicle levels that much. I do enjoy the vehicle levels. At least most of them. I like optimizing them. I like the extra layer of strategizing that they incorporate. And I think it is very important to learn how to play them well. So now onto the Dread Zone station interior, otherwise known as the control level. So I'm going to... Oh! The game spawned me in a slightly weird spot there than what I thought it would. So for the interior, I have to destroy the west generator, or the east generator, the west generator, and the central core. And all 3 of these use really awesome strats. So this first one, I'm going to do a wrench SI to get up here on this spot. And there is a little area where like the wall doesn't really exist. It has no collision. And I jump out of it and I start hyper stacking to the end. The second fastest strat would probably be to do some mind clips through the walls while going through the level otherwise casually, and that would be very slow, but it would also have a detriment, which is it would cause a lot of enemies to spawn in this room where the generator is. Because we reached this generator from a spot we're not supposed to, the enemies never spawn. There's also supposed to be some lasers that are being fired from the top of the generator. You can kind of see these little like claw things where the lasers would come from. But those are not active either, so thank goodness. Right here, I'm being very careful how I command the bots so that they get to this spot that's closest to them, minimizing the amount of time they spend traveling. That is a very important part of this level, is knowing when to command the bots, where you are facing, etc. So now there I attempted a little speed clip. If you kind of cancel the charge in a specific like corner, Ratchet can just clip through the wall. That is a strat I found on accident. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through this level, the first half of the level, casually, just by clipping through the walls with the mines. In this room, I'm going to get on top of this doorway. There is no collision at the top. There's nothing preventing me from like getting on top of it, sliding me off. I'm going to just charge in the direction of the west generator, and I'm going to do a couple of hyperstacks, and that will allow me to get into the final room. I will once again command the bots to plant bombs on these 2 spots of the generator. I shoot that barrel just to get it out of the way. I got the bots to go in the spot that I wanted them to. Now right here you actually see I'm practicing the movement that I'm going to do for the next spot. At the time of this run, I was not very confident in this strat, so I figured, you know what, I have a little bit of downtime. It doesn't hurt to start practicing the movement for the next one. So that's one thing that is really nice about this mission, is that you get to do that. So what I did is I did a flail cancel, but I did it with the wrench rather than swapping to another weapon. And it basically gave me the ability to go up that slope. I landed on the wire, and it clipped me out of bounds. And I went into that other room that you saw me do. And from here on out, I can just charge to the very end. Now, there are some enemies in this room. I decide to fire an EMP, or at least, yeah, there we go. I fire an EMP so that Landstalker, I have a bit of time to destroy it, but also to be careful to not let this guy on the turret die. The reason why is because more enemies will spawn. Now, by this point, it's not a big deal if I do kill him, because the bots are almost done anyways. One thing that I did attempt to do, I shot the magma cannon at him, and it caused him to be knocked into this spot where he is stuck and cannot move, and he will not bother me at all. So now timing is going to end soon. So this is Gleam and Vox. I'm going to use the Ravager once again. I'm going to spam the Flail. The Flail is unfortunately not powerful enough to one-cycle him, so I do still have to fight him in the second phase. So I plant some mines just to get them ready to do just a little bit of damage. Finish them off with the Flail. And with that, time, a 1:13:29. So yeah, there's definitely some improvement to be made in this PB, but otherwise this is a really good run. At the time it was 4th place, and it is now 5th place. One other runner has managed to beat me. I do hope to get 3rd place, and if this category gets accepted to GDQ, I will absolutely be grinding for that. I am 50 seconds off the 3rd place time. I could see myself getting a 1:12, maybe even going for a 1:11, although that would be a super difficult time, but I think I could do it, and it would be very nice to pull it off. So, to the GamesDoneQuick committee, if you've made it to the end, thank you. I'm very grateful that you watched this run. I hope you consider this game for your event, and I would like to put on a banger of a showcase. Have a good one.